Hey Misplayers, Keith here at Slight Misplay. Gonna do another two first session report today. So I'm recording two session reports of two sessions each, if that makes any sense. So this one is going to be our Curse of Strahd Bloodrune Legacy campaign. This is covering the last two sections. These are running a bit long, so I am going to have to start doing these after each session, it looks like, because you forget how much can happen even when nothing happens, if that makes any sense. I find those are the best games, is that even with a very little work from the DM, a lot of inter-party interaction or just the little things that do occur during a session can really have a big impact on the story and on the characters themselves. So I'm really digging this one. This is my old work group, and I really love this one. This is like my easy one to run. I love Curse of Strahd. I know it really well. It's my second Curse of Strahd campaign that's still ongoing. I'm really familiar with the material, and I just love this group. So it's a lot easier than, say, Tomb of Annihilation, where I have to kind of pour through it over and over again. I haven't read Tomb of Annihilation nearly as much. Curse of Strahd, I just love to read it. It's really well set up. I think it's one of the greatest things WotC has done with 5th edition. Even though it's a revamp, there's still so much more material than was in previous editions of the Ravenloft campaign. So anyway, so back to where we are here. The party was doing a lot of explanation after noping out of a big revenant filled room. They found a book that was the only surviving book in a library of sorts. They found a torn picture. The book, sorry, was a rite of the Knights of the Silver Dragon. Their their hymnal, or their whatever, their rituals. I think Morgion was really interested in that because he is a paladin of sorry, not Morgion. Arcus is really interested in that because he's a paladin of Morgion, and he loves secrets, and his whole thing is that he wants to disseminate his own text to as many people as possible after his cult was kind of destroyed by an insurrection or something like that. He's got a cool backstory, and so in one of these rooms, there's a ripped picture, and it says, like, if a party member casts mending on the picture, then it'll kind of glow, and it'll kind of tell a little story of the little glowing beacon, which is, as we as DMs know, spoiler alert, that if the party restores the head of Argynvost to the mausoleum, that's the beacon's going to be lit and good things are going to happen. The party doesn't really know that. They do know that they have a side quest at this point to restore the head. This does give them a little hint as to, okay, there's the light in the chapel. We know there's a mausoleum. They've seen it before. They've seen it through the windows and from the outside of the building. So there's also a lead-lined closet that they went into with, I think, nothing in it. And here's a little thing. I've seen this criticism before, but there are a lot of rooms I'm noticing, both in Argynvost and in the Amber Temple, which are pretty much just empty. And I have kind of an issue with this because an empty room just isn't fun. I wish there were, like, at least something of interest in just about every room. So what I typically do is I will just grab a piece from another room, because the party's never going to explore every single room. As far as I can tell, they're going to either get bored with it, or they're going to find their objective and leave, or they're just going to keep looking for their objective and they're going to miss a whole area. So it requires a little bit of DM finesse to kind of put the right things where the party is. Put the fun stuff where the party is, and don't keep things locked under investigation rolls or perception rolls if they're cool. I'm running another game for my kids and my fiance, and there's a lot of things that are just really cool. You want to give them to the players, but they're just locked behind. Even if it's an easy roll, if you're going to have them roll for it and you want to give them this information, I just give it to them. I know it kind of doesn't necessarily benefit the characters who have made themselves into high investigator characters, but it just doesn't feel right if they're just going around and around and they just keep rolling and missing, which is a potential situation. So that's my thoughts on it, because there were some empty rooms, and even the session reports that they wrote to me afterwards are like, yeah, there was a lead-lined closet with nothing in it. What's the point of that? There's another room later on in the Amber Temple, which has basically just, I think, all dried up potions or all dried up spell books, and there's nothing they can do with them. And it's like, well, okay, this was an interesting place, but I mean, you got to think about things like, you know, sure, this place has been picked over by tomb raiders, but so were the pyramids, so were everything that we find now in any kind of archaeology. A lot of them have been grave robbed before, but grave robbers aren't perfect in picking everything clean, even in multiple attempts, especially if these things are laden with monsters and traps. At some point, those grave robbers are either dead in there and they leave all the treasure, or they're saying, let's get the heck out of here, this place is not worth it. So I kind of work within that framework when I'm running these. I do wish that they were written a little bit more from that perspective, but that's my taste, I guess. You know, it's a great adventure. These are all great adventures to run, really. So they did some exploration, and they found a rattling kettle, I think, in a kitchen, which had this was a great little tense moment because everybody's low on hit points, everybody's low on resources. They haven't taken a long rest in a couple of sessions after getting really hammered by a revenant and running for smoke dragons and other things, and phantom warriors. They've all been really hammered, and this was my gimme to them of like, you're in a place with a lot of empty rooms. This is a good thing about empty rooms, is that, you know, you guys can barricade a door and take a rest here. Nobody was doing it. They kept running around and exploring this place at their own peril. So, okay, that's fine. But this was my idea, was to give them a chance to give a little bit of a rest, because I am not a very forgiving DM as far as rests go. I want, especially when I'm doing like a Ravenloft Barovia campaign, I want them to feel that everything is dangerous. So when they get to a place where they feel like they can rest, that's a huge gimme for me, but they haven't taken it so far. So there's a rattling kettle in a kitchen, I think, and they're really, really trepidatious about opening the thing up, and they do, and a bat flies out and just runs away. And so it was a nice little tension and relief, little horror comedy moment there, which is great. Those are always fun, just to get everybody really amped up and like leaning in, and then just to have it just pay off with something just mildly amusing and not too threatening. But if the party comes from the woods and everything gets really, really still, and a bunny just runs across and they feel relief, you know that a giant wolf is coming after the bunny. So I like that aspect to playing comedy and horror as well. So what else did they do? Eventually they decide that the party reconvenes, and they decide they're going to investigate the graveyard outside. They had noticed before that some of the graves had been dug up and not necessarily from the outside, so they're intrigued by that. I don't know if intrigued is the right word, but they want to investigate the graveyard. They also want to investigate the mausoleum. I say mausoleum. Is it mausoleum? Mausoleum? Whatever. I call it mausoleum. I like mice. So they check out the mausoleum, and they discover that it's empty. And again, it's an empty room and has some writing on it in Draconic. I feel like there could have been something here, but okay, it's empty, and this is going to work out fine. Because Magrathan, the head librarian, is the only one that can read Draconic, which is great. And the party has had some experience with one character reading aloud the words that are written on a wall and summoning a freaking Otiug when they were, I think, 2nd level or something like that, and it almost killed all of them. So the party is immediately screaming, "Don't read it out loud! Don't read it out loud!" So I whisper it to her, and Magrathan's a him, but the player's a her, and tell her what it is. And it's kind of just more of the same. Like, bring my head back here. These are my resting. This is my resting place. So it's not like a huge payoff, but for Magrathan it's good because she's the head librarian. She's collecting heads, and that is a recurring theme that's going on, and there's a lot of fuel for that. I mean, for somebody to come up with a character like this, and that's what I love about Curse of Strahd so much, is I've found hooks for every character, and they didn't know what all the hooks were going to be when they went in here, but I found hooks for every character in Curse of Strahd, just based on their fears and their desires, and their own character goals. God, I love this adventure so much. I could keep running this forever. So I hope this doesn't take forever, though. I do eventually want to have some final epic battles with Strahd, please. So she doesn't read it out loud. Arcus goes to check out the graves, and Arcus was the one who killed the Revenant previously in the chapel, and so I do a little carry moment, and I have the hand pop up, and the Revenant's reincarnation comes out of the grave. And now, see, one thing that Curse of Strahd doesn't really say is that since the Revenants are all enemies of Strahd, I'm not sure if it's intended for the Revenants to be able to use like their Vengeful Glare and their other abilities against the party, or if that's all supposed to be intended against Strahd. I find it more fun if they can use it against the party, because those are the things that make Revenants cool. Like, you want to have the cool things about the monster come into play with the PCs. So I didn't really use the Vengeful Glare in the previous issue with the Revenant, but I had an idea that if they destroyed it, it would come back. And I played around with time here. It's supposed to be 24 hours. Forget it. Make it when it's supposed to happen, when it feels dramatic and when it feels fun. The players don't know that it's supposed to be 24 hours later. So when he's in the graveyard and he's the one who killed the Revenant, and I say that Revenant hates this guy now, and he's got his own like death vow, vengeance vow against this character now because he destroyed him, or maybe even the whole party, I'm going to use it. So he comes up and he immediately starts pursuing Arcus. Arcus runs away into the mausoleum. Perfect. And nobody is stopping this Revenant from following him into the mausoleum. So, and Arcus has just dropped to 0 hit points, like just the session before. He's just been healed. He's got a couple of hit points, I think. So he's already terrified. I don't even need to do anything with this Revenant to make him terrified. He knows how hard it was to kill the first time, and he knows he's way lower on hit points now. So it doesn't take long for the Revenant to get into the mausoleum. I think there's one other character. I think Magrathan is still in there with him. Maybe I think some of the other characters might have been there too, but I think they skedaddled when this Revenant comes in. Like, oh, like crap, like not this guy again. So Arcus is in there battling this thing. He uses his Vengeful Glare, whatever it is, horrifying glare against him and paralyzes him. That's how we ended a session, was with him paralyzed. We stopped in the middle of initiative, and that was great. It was a great cliffhanger. So then we picked up a week, 2 weeks later, with right in the middle of the battle. So it was a nice little cliffhanger. He's paralyzed. He's scared because he's going to get auto hit by these Revenants, and they do a lot of damage. And he's already worried that his character is going to drop again, which, you know, he's not. The player's not really upset by that. He knows what's on the table here, but the character is like, oh no, like and I'm even worried. I'm like, oh god, like this guy just got his life saved, and he's going to get killed again. And nobody seems to really be helping him. Then everybody chimes in and starts helping him. So this was really cool. So I think the first thing that happened was, he got paralyzed, and so Skye immediately was outside the room. The sorcerer, she's outside the mausoleum, and she's thinking about casting Fireball, and she's mathing out the geometry of the room and seeing if it's going to work. And I am so excited about this because it's such a trope to have a spellcaster cast Fireball in the middle of an enclosed area, and I'm so excited to see that happen. But she doesn't do it. She calms herself down and decides she's going to hold on and kind of ready her action to cast at it if it comes out of the mausoleum, which isn't doing anything to save Arcus, and she's just saved Arcus's life like 2 sessions ago. So I was really excited about that. Another thing that happened is Magrathan was in close quarters, and he was trying to think, what am I going to cast on this guy? And Magrathan got in close with this Revenant again. This is the same Revenant that dropped Magrathan to 0 hit points on his first time in game because he got too close. And I had to remind the player, look, like, you're a squishy spellcaster. That's not the best place for you. That was like your warning shot, your wake-up call. She still got in right close, and she cast Lightning Bolt on it. And man, I miss 2nd edition, maybe 3rd edition and 4th edition did this also, but I miss old school 2nd edition Lightning Bolt rules where lightning bolts can bounce off of walls and stuff like that, because God, that would have been so much fun to do. But I played it by the book. I was trying to be forgiving, but I did caution them, like, I may change the rules for Lightning Bolt because I think it's way more fun to have lightning bolts bouncing off the walls everywhere and potentially hitting your own people. That's just fun. But so she cast Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt did a ton of damage to this thing. But Revenants are tough. Revenants are real tough, and they regenerate. And lightning does not stop them from regenerating. So Yamel kind of ran away and then cast Guiding Bolt, and he missed his first time, and that was a shame because I think Guiding Bolt does radiant damage, which would stop the Revenant from regenerating, and these guys regenerate 10 hit points a round, so that's a pretty big, and these guys have decent armor class. So you know, they're wearing chainmail. They've got decent decks, I think, so they're not easy to hit. They shouldn't be hard for a 5th level party, but again, you know, it's up to the dice sometimes, and you know, he just missed with his guiding bolt, and that would have stopped him from regenerating, I think. Sky ended up walking into the doorway, trying to save her friends, cast Scorching Ray on the Revenant. That hits it. I'm surprised she didn't cast Magic Missile. She mentioned that she may have swapped that spell out. I'm pretty lenient about that stuff, and that was kind of one of her signature things to do, but that's fine. Scorching Ray worked fine. And fire does stop it from regenerating. I had a little bit of issue with roll 20. It seemed like it was like almost auto regenerating. I'm not sure if that's a thing that can even happen, but I did notice that when I was like lowering the hit points, I would look back up and the hit points would be high. Maybe I just didn't hit the right button to signify the hit point loss for it. But yeah, I mean, these guys are tough to kill, but because of the regeneration. But the fire would stop it. Lyra stands in the doorway also. She asks if she can shoot around Sky for this. And I say, sure. And I give him partial cover because of that. She's got to kind of, you know, thread the needle. She fires 2 arrows. One of them hits. And then Asuka asks to do the same thing. And she says, can I go up on the other side of Sky and kind of Charlie's Angels it? So everybody kind of pauses and does a little Charlie's Angel pose in the midst of our Roll20 game, which is just awesome. And she fires, and I think one of her arrows hits as well. Again, he's got partial cover because of the crowded doorway there that they're trying to get into. The Revenant, I was using the Monsters Know tactics for the Revenant, at least as much as I could remember them in the heat of battle. So I was having the Revenant grapple people and then try to stab them with their swords. So he had already dropped Arcus. I think Arcus had shaken off his paralysis only just to be dropped by this Revenant. He was doing much better on his death saves this time, which was a nice little relief for everybody, I think. But so then, once the Revenant drops him, he doesn't care about him anymore. He goes after whoever his next most powerful foe who's hurting him is. So he goes after Sky. He grabs her and he just stabs down into her. And we always forget that Sky is pregnant. We always, you know, I never really hurt the baby or anything like that, but yeah, he stabs her and then he chucks her aside on his next turn so he can, you know, because she's not really a threat and other people are shooting at him and doing stuff to him. So he wants to get rid of her and go after the other people. That was my own little choice. I don't know if that was in the Monsters Know, but it felt more dramatic at the time, and I didn't want to keep pummeling on Sky. I wanted him to be a threat for the whole party. So at that point, he tosses her. She probably yells out something like, "My baby," like she always does. She scrapes her arms and bonks her head on the wall inside the mausoleum. Nice little dramatic moment. Lyra switches from her bow and arrow to, she asks me if she can attack twice with her dagger in her, I always do this, twice with her dagger in her right hand and once with her dagger in her left hand. I say, yep, that's how this works. She does her little dagger thing, even though she's never seen Critical Role as far as I know. Arcus starts doing well on his death throws. Sky grabs Arcus. She's recovered. She gets up. She drags Arcus into an alcove. She binds his wounds, so he no longer is in danger of bleeding out. And I think there was another little... No, I think that was it. And then Lyra dagger this thing again and finally killed it. And again, I knew that he was close to death, and I swear that Roll20 was like just messing with me and giving him more hit points, because I was looking at it, I'm like, 16 hit points, she did like 18 damage or something. Okay, he's dead. And I looked up and he's got like 36 hit points again. I'm like, is it auto regenerating? I'm not really sure what happened there, but I knew that he was about to die. I knew who was going to kill him based on, you know, okay, if somebody does this much damage, this guy's dead. So that happened, but again, he may come back. They're not really sure. I'm not really sure what they did with the body. That's interesting. So at that point, they had killed it. They decided they're going to do a long rest inside the mausoleum, and I wanted to take this opportunity to do something because this is a long-running campaign. These characters have a lot of personal goals, as well as a Taroko reading that I'm a bad DM for this. I have not been taking great notes on this. I typically used to run this game after work every day, so after work every other week. I wouldn't have great notes on the original Taroko reading. I lost my notes on that somehow along the way. I think it's changed. I either changed it or just the flow of the adventure made it so that some of the things didn't make sense anymore. I think originally I was going to have Esmeralda as their ally, but then I needed to use her as a player NPC. Does that make sense? I needed a player to come in and be a ringer for her because he was our longtime player. and I wanted to give him something that was in the story, easy to jump into, very, very powerful, so he wouldn't just get knocked out in the first session he was back. I think he played 2 sessions again with us, which was really fun to have him back. But I couldn't then use Esmeralda as an ally for the party. Didn't really make sense. I love the idea of using Basilica as the ally. I'm doing that in my other game. I thought that might be a little too samey for me to run Basilica again. I'm kind of leaning back towards that, but I also had the idea, and I think I presented this to the players, that maybe it was Lucas, who was an NPC that they had encountered in their first intro adventure that I had written for this group, and he was one of the NPCs there, and I thought maybe he would be the one that would be the ally, and I was going to have both of those in the Abbey at Kresk, which is, you can see that, I built that a while ago, Abbey at Kresk up there. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that yet, but they're pretty sure now. So we went over everything, and we just, I said, okay, give me all your notes, and let's go through what your goals are. Because one thing about Argynvostolt is they started getting a little confused about what they were there for, what they were looking for, and why they were doing any of this, and I didn't want them all to just die because of that. So we took a little step back, and we went through, and what was great about this was that as they were recounting it, and they were misinterpreting or reinterpreting things, it gave me so much fuel. Like, one of the characters is Skye. She's been bitten by Strahd, and she's done some evil things, so she's got fangs, and when she uses her magical tattoo to fly, she's got big black wings now. So now she's wondering, wait, like, is my baby like part dragon? Is my baby? And I'm like, ooh, that's a cool idea. And they're also wondering, like, is Sergei, like, there's something in the Taroko reading about Sergei. Is Sergei a dragon? I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea too. So this gives me so much fuel to work with and change things up from the original text and how I'm running it for my other group. So they're looking for, I think they might have forgotten that they're looking for a holy symbol, and I think that is with Sergei in the castle, but I'm not sure. Something about the Brothers' Tomb, I think. They know that they have to go to the Abbey at Kresk. Again, my little Abbey at Kresk. And to find their ally. They also know that there may be the abbot there may be able to cure Skye of her affliction, whatever that might be. She's been bitten by Strahd, and she's got the fangs, and she's got a baby that reacts strangely when people turn undead or when other things happen. So she doesn't know what is going on with that baby. And they also need a cure for Lyra and her lycanthropy. And man, I keep forgetting to play that up, that when she's in combat, to make her roll to see if she changes. But no, it's fine. There's a lot going on, man, and I don't think anybody really misses it. But that is something that I've been forgetting in a couple of my Strahd games is, dang, this character has lycanthropy. Like, I need to play that up and make that an actual curse. Like, it's a bad thing that's going on. They're killing their own people, and they're worried that they're gonna, kill somebody innocent. And they're a liability. What else they have to do? They also know that they can find some answers to this, possibly if the Abbey doesn't work out, that they might be able to find some answers in the Amber Temple. I do like dispersing all of the little items they have to collect throughout my favorite locations in Barovia. But I did that in my other campaign as well, and Amber Temple can just last a long, long time. So I wasn't really sure if it was right to put one of these things that they need in the Amber Temple, or if I should just make it a personal thing so they can kind of go there if they need to. And let's be honest, they're probably going to need to. I mean, they're going to find out stuff about the abbot and not get the help they need. And if they really want to get those answers, they may have to make some kind of a bargain in the Amber Temple and figure out how to cure themselves or get what they need from there. So that's great. They've already gotten the Tome of Strahd. So again, that puts a big target on them, which is, I love. Not that you need an excuse to put a target on the party, but they've got the Tome of Strahd. They got that from Wachter House. I've got this whole, I was going through my list as they were going through this of all of the different NPCs that they have either killed or have left behind and haven't really dealt with fully, because it's Barovia, so even if somebody's dead, they don't have to be really dead. So I'm coming up with some really good ideas just based on what they were going through, like what they've done and what they're seeking to do. They've also got this head quest now, for Argynvostolt and Argynvost and bringing his head back. And Magrathan has his own goal for that. So based on that, now I don't know how I didn't see this before, but a couple of weeks ago, it's Halloween season, so a couple of weeks ago I showed the kids the old Disney Ichabod Crane movie, and late at night, when the kids are in bed, I started watching Sleepy Hollow, and I was just like, oh man, how did I not see this before? They're in Barovia. It's a Ravenloft campaign. How have I not done a Headless Horseman yet? I know 2nd edition Ravenloft had a Headless Horseman in the Dark Lords supplement. So I think I'm going to go back and check that out. I know it's on the DM's Guild. Or I might just make up my own rules for him. Because why wouldn't I do that? You're in Barovia. You've got rivers, so you can put in that hook. And you've got Magrathan here. I've a built a character that a player just made that has a tie to heads. So as we're wrapping up our little recap and let's go over our goals portion of the show, which I think went really, really well for everybody. Everybody has a much, much better idea why we're here. We've been playing this game for 3 years. What are we doing here? Let's focus back on and just at least know that while we're screwing around with our friends, that our characters have a goal. So there's kind of a point to this story. It's not going to go on forever. We really want them to fight Strahd. So Gary, the head that is in a birdcage on the back of Magrathan, starts telling a story as they decided to take a long rest inside the mausoleum. They close themselves up in there. I do have to remember if they left the Revenant body in there or not. I guess it doesn't matter because the Revenant resurrects in another body somewhere, so maybe he'll be waiting for them when they wake up. But he tells them a story about the and he's laughing at Magrathan almost. He's kind of taunting her. He's like, oh, you really shouldn't be going after all these heads like this. You're kind of unauthorized to do this, because Magrathan has left the head library purportedly to seek out new heads for the library, but he's actually got a completely different goal. And the library, if they were to find out about it, or if they already know about it, they wouldn't be too happy about that, and they're going to try to get him back or something worse. So Gary tells him the story of, well, there was an old war. This is taken straight out of all the Sleepy Hollow stuff. There was an old warrior and he lost his head in battle, and he came back to life seeking vengeance, and the head library has been using him to hunt down those who have tried to leave without permission, which is everybody. You can't leave the head library. Or those who are taking heads without permission, which is everybody that's not a member of the head library staff. We start, I wish this doesn't work so well on Roll20, but I start doing like the little hoofbeat sound, the little coconut sound from Monty Python, and then I just lean in and just go, boo! And that's how we ended it. And so now they've got a hook for this headless horseman, or this horseman character who's seeking heads of those as vengeance, and as vengeance for the head library. They've got a clear idea of their goals. They even mentioned, we're looking for a sword in this place, but we're not sure if it's actually a sword, or if it's a depiction of a sword, or if it's a complete sword. And I was really, really impressed with that. They did a great job as they were recapping everything, with coming up with different options and interpretations. So I just said, you know what, this was awesome. Even though it was kind of meta, it was really, really cool to see that everybody was so invested. People were coming in with ideas from all over the place and remembering different aspects of the game from the past few years. And as a DM, that's just great to see, that they're remembering what each other did, and also what I've been presenting to them as a story, the things that happened. So I gave them all inspiration to start with for next time, because it was just fantastic to see everybody just so engaged with that. And I think the next few sessions are going to be really, really exciting. I've got a big boss battle, I think, coming up. I thought it might happen last session or the session before. I've got that horseman hook, so I can throw him in whenever they're on the road. I'm sure Strahd's going to be looking for them now that they've got the tome. And now that they've just been kind of messing around. I didn't want to throw Strahd right into Argynvostolt. That didn't really make sense to me, but Magrathan hasn't even encountered Strahd yet, so that's got to happen at some point. So a lot of fun things are coming up with that. That's it for right now. I know these videos are going long, so I'm gonna try to do these after each session from now on instead of letting them build up, because you forget how much can happen in a session, how much that's worth telling out of each session. excuse me, and that's why we play, right? Is for these stories that we tell afterwards about all the cool stuff that happened. So thank you very much for listening. I hope if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Any comments, also, more than welcome. Find me on Twitter at @SlightMisplay. If you want to help me make more of these, make these better, do more reviews and other gamey subjects, please consider supporting my Patreon, Slight Misplay, or buy me a coffee, Ko-Fi, Slight Misplay also. Other than that, hopefully I'll see you soon after I can get some more gaming in. I'm looking to do some more reviews as well. And yeah, that's it. So don't forget to wash your hands, wear a mask, stay inside. Voting's over, but keep up the faith, everybody. And like, subscribe, ring the bell, sign the book, do all the things. Watch out for stray heads. Onward.